COVID-19 pandemic has made cloud services much more important, such that if we do not have a clear strategy around this, then we may end up having very critical data scattered across various data centers all over the world. My guest is a cloud service provider who shares his thoughts on ways to make the local cloud industry more formidable. We have quite a lot lined up for you, but first, some tech news and updates. I am Chukwuemeka Agbata. Welcome to the show.
The human brain is an incredible pattern matching machine. The coronavirus pandemic is continuing its spread to nearly every country across the world. With over 4.8 million confirmed cases and more than 300 deaths recorded, individuals and organizations are making efforts to help curb the spread. In Warri Delta State, a nimble team at a software development company have built a contact tracing app called COVID Together to fight the virus. The app is aimed at contact tracing, information, and action.
We understand that when people fall sick with the coronavirus and the government authorities may ask them who they met or where they've been to or how many people they must have met, the information they offer may be incomplete because perhaps they've forgotten. And so we built a contact tracing app that uses Bluetooth low energy technology to assist with contact tracing.
The COVID Together app uses a technology called Bluetooth Low Energy, which helps to scan for other users of the app that have enabled contact tracing on it.
When you install the COVID Together app from our website, covidtogether.org, the app asks for your name and your phone number. The app also has a switch that allows you to enable or disable contact tracing. This gives you control. You install the COVID Together app on your mobile phone and you come in contact with another COVID Together user. If the distance between you and that person is less than 2 meters, immediately your mobile phone records that as a close contact and both phones exchange an ID or a nickname. They do this via Bluetooth low energy technology, which doesn't consume as much battery as a regular Bluetooth.
The app also gives the location of all test centers and isolation centers in the state on a map, giving the users information on the nearest location.
So all the test centers and isolation centers in your state are all on the map, and you can see how far you are from them. Their names and their addresses are all there on the map. Also added a geofence feature that fences areas that are affected in your state. And then when you walk into such areas that have a high probability of the virus, you are alerted and told to leave such an area. With the COVID Together app installed on your mobile phone, and if you've met, let's say, 20 persons who also have the COVID Together app, your app will record this on your phone, like a notebook. Now, if any of those persons fall ill and test positive for the coronavirus, you can check that by going to the history page and going to the bottom. There is a button there, a sync button. Tap on the sync button and it will check if any of the persons you have met have contacted the virus. After tapping on the sync button, if one of your contacts that you met via the COVID Together app has contacted the virus, there are two options. You can either choose to directly call the NCDC or you can choose to take the symptom check on the app. The symptom check is not a coronavirus test. Rather, it just helps you to see if you have any symptoms and the symptoms you have are related to the coronavirus. Once that is done, you can still choose to call the NCDC or call your state government.
COVID Together app gives an update of the number of cases in every state in Nigeria and worldwide.
It is hard enough for adults to get their heads around the coronavirus, but for children, it can be even more difficult to understand why they can't see their friends or even play outside.
Football, my friends, and there's nothing you can.
Silence! You think this is funny, eh?
That is where Niyi Akimolayon's cartoon monster comes in. The Nigerian filmmaker has created a 90-second animation to help youngsters understand why they have to stay at home after schools in Lagos were shut from March the 23rd and public gatherings were banned to stem the spread of the disease.
Habib, where do you think you're going?
Stay out of my way. I'm going to play football with my friends, and there's nothing you can't.
Silence! You think this is funny, eh? You can get the deadly coronavirus.
The gorilla virus?
No, the coronavirus.
The message seems to have sunk in with some children who have seen the video.
My favorite part was when the boy opened the door and saw the coronavirus, the big monster outside, and he slammed the door and had to go inside. And now I know that this is not the right time to go anywhere or outside.
The video tells the story of two siblings, Habib and Funke. Habib gets tired of staying at home and decides to sneak out to play soccer. His older sister Funke warns him not to go out, but he insists, only to be confronted by a monster.
Okay, it's real! It's real! What should we do?
The coronavirus is out there. We should stay at home for now. Always wash our hands with soap and water so we can prevent it from spreading.
Boo! Akimolayan, best known for directing, said he was inspired after several attempts to explain the lockdown to his 5-year-old son.
But I still didn't get it until I kind of changed the narrative and said, the coronavirus actually looks like a big monster and is out there in the street, and if you go, it will catch you. And he says, okay, but daddy and mommy, we can go together. I said, no, if it catches daddy and mommy, you won't see daddy and mommy again, no more. Then I mentioned his favorite, snack and all that. And the idea kind of synced.
Do you know what will happen when you do? Do you?
What will happen?
You will bring the coronavirus home and then infect everyone.
I think animation is important. In fact, I think it is probably the most valuable tool to use, during this pandemic. One, it's probably the only thing we can create remotely without having to actually see each other. If you wanted to do an advert now or a PSA with real people, it's not going to be possible with cameras and all that. So that shows you how powerful animation can work.
You're just making it up.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
See for yourself.
Akimolayan made the animation through his production company Anthill Studios using a 10-strong crew, all working separately from their homes.
Ireland's Mana Aero should have been dropping off its first takeaway orders around the Dublin University campus by drone in March, but then the coronavirus pandemic shut the country and its pilot program down. Within a week, the drone company was testing out an entirely different concept, delivering medication and critical supplies to isolated elderly people whom the Irish government, like many others, had told to stay home to avoid infection. Mana works with Ireland's health service operator to test the service in Moneygall. After a number of weeks flying to and from residents' homes, the local pharmacy and convenience store located at the Barack Obama Plaza motorway service station, Mana says it has proven the technology works.
We're delivering critical food supplies and pharmacy products to the inhabitants of the town that are cocooning during the pandemic. We're delighted to serve the people of the town, who are also very delighted to get everything they need in less than 3 minutes.
Hillis says Mana will continue the deliveries on a non-commercial basis and could cover 600 similarly sized towns around the country by the end of the year if the government wishes. One drone is capable of making 100 4-kilogram deliveries a day. That could involve not only the 450 licensed drone pilots in Ireland, but also the large number of pilots. In Moneygall, locals are running a dedicated phone line rather than a mobile phone application, so more vulnerable residents like 70-year-old Fidelma Gleeson can order bread and milk and have her prescription medicines brought to her door.
Well, it means an awful lot to me. I'm 70 years of age and I have to get a lot of medicines and that. and for groceries and everything. It's absolutely fantastic that it's delivered by drone. I thought I'd never see the day that would happen, that I wouldn't have to be getting into my car and going into town to collect it. So it's absolutely fantastic technology.
Manna, which partnered with food delivery giant Just Eat on the postponed university project, hopes to ultimately replace road-based delivery.
Is your Gmail full? Well, here are some handy solutions for you to manage your emails better. Clean your Google Drive and photos. By default, Google gives free 15 GB storage to Gmail users, but this storage is shared among various Google services, most importantly Google Drive and the photos. Now, if you're running out of storage for mails, one of the best ways to free up some extra space is by checking how much of it is being used by Google Drive and Google Photos. If there are large files in your photos and Google Drive, delete them if you can. That will free up the space for emails. Find and delete big emails. In most cases, your emails are likely to be small, like 50 kilobytes small, but over the period of time you also accumulate big emails. The trick to reclaim space in the Gmail is to delete these particular emails. Now, how do you do that? In the email search bar, write larger:20M. With this, you are telling the Gmail to find emails that are larger than 20 megabytes in size. You can pick any size that you want, 5 MB, 1 MB, 10 MB. This will give you all the large emails that you have in your inbox. You can then delete all or some of them to free up significant space in the inbox. Empty updates and promotions. Google Gmail has tabs for quite some time now. Of these tabs, inbox is the primary area where all your important emails come. But then there are also updates where LinkedIn emails enter, and promotions where you get emails from your banks. Most of the time, these are useless emails. When you're running low on space, you can safely delete them. Find old emails. If you don't want old emails clogging your mailbox, just search for them. Again, the trick is same. Go to the email search bar and type older_than:1Y or something similar. Once you have the mail sorted, delete the ones that you want. Buy some space. If you're a power user of Gmail, it makes sense to buy extra storage. This is easy and hassle-free, but also a lazy solution to the Gmail problem.
Coming up is my chat with Oyaje Idoko, CEO, Layer 3. Stay with us.
The term cloud computing is everywhere, but what does it mean? It's simply the delivery of on-demand computing services from applications to storage and processing power via the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. The cloud is just a metaphor for the internet. One benefit of using cloud computing services is that firms can avoid the upfront cost and complexity of owning and maintaining their own IT infrastructure, and instead simply pay for what they use when they use it. In turn, providers of cloud computing services can benefit from significant economies of scale by delivering the same services to a wide range of customers. Our guest on the show, Oyaje Idoko, a cloud service provider, explains why we need a strong cloud industry.
Cloud computing offers a lot of advantages for customers and businesses of all kinds. One, it allows them quick access to computer resources that ordinarily they may not have been able to afford. And secondly, it takes the burden of managing computer infrastructure and data centers off businesses and allows that to sit with the cloud service providers. and gives them available options of different computer environments and different locations to host their data and access their data in real time.
Can you give us an overview of the cloud market in Nigeria today?
The Nigerian cloud market is growing. I mean, prior to the past maybe 3 years, we had issues with data center availability and even cloud service providers. But with the proliferation of data centers in Nigeria within the past 3 to 5 years, we have seen an upsurge and uptake of cloud services within the country. It's still not where we want it to be. However, the confidence in cloud service providers is growing on a daily basis. First of all, I've seen a correlation between the growth in the startup scene, in the technology startup scene, as well as cloud service adoption. But it's still far from where we want it to be relative to the western part of the world. So a whole lot more needs to be done, both by the government as well as organizations and companies, to make the adoption a lot faster.
Let's talk about those things that need to be done both by the government and by the private sector. What would you advise?
Well, from the part of the businesses, they need to, build more confidence in the system. I know the complaints in the past used to be, issues of security, issues of even the strength of the data centers, issues of power and all that. But I can confidently say that most of those issues that used to be prevalent in the past, are really no more. Right now we have certified, data centers that can be compared to anywhere in the world. Currently we have a lot of businesses and even the government agencies themselves still hosting their data outside the shores of the country, and this really is not acceptable. And the government really needs to drive this through policies. I'm aware NIDA is doing quite a lot in this space, but we need to see a lot more urgency.
And what is the benefit to the country if your suggestions are implemented?
One of the first benefits I think the country will derive from this is in the area of data sovereignty. There's no reason why a country like Nigeria should have, their critical data hosted, outside the shores of this country. Of course, we have issues like, security to deal with. Why would you have your critical data in the hands of other countries? A lot of these people that even host their data outside the country don't even know where the data is residing. All they know is that it's sitting in a cloud service provider somewhere without knowing where and what happens to this data, right? So that's one. Then, of course, we have the economic value, especially in terms of foreign exchange, right? Why should we have all? I'm sure if we're to do a research and put a value on how much is being spent on cloud hosting in foreign data centers, it will shock you how much the country is losing. These are all funds that if they come back or stay within the country can do a lot of, bring a lot of value to the country. All right, then of course I mentioned security already. And this applies not just to government agencies, but even the private sector as well, because a lot of critical, public data, citizens' data is in the hands of private enterprises, the banks, for instance, and all the financial data. We have no idea where this data is residing. And this applies not just to Nigerian entities, but even foreign, for instance, foreign credit card companies that are, that have access to Nigerian data. Where is this data residing? Ideally, all this data should be resident within the country. So yes, the government needs to do a lot, and they need to see this as a critical issue that requires very urgent attention.
We mention local content all the time, but what do you think is the relationship between local content and a healthy local cloud services industry?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, certainly. Like I mentioned, there are quite a lot of local cloud service providers currently, in the country, right? And it helps, right? It helps for Nigeria to promote their own, because that's the only way we can grow to be competitive, with similar companies from the rest of the world. So if we don't appreciate our own providers, if we don't appreciate our own developers, who will? I mean, giving priority to local content service providers and content developers definitely builds their confidence, as well as allows them also to be, to compete with their peers globally.
For emphasis, I'd like you to also talk about the risks. What are some of the risks associated with Nigeria if we do nothing about where our data is stored?
Yeah, well, Nigeria needs to take this very, very seriously. I mean, other countries have done this, and they are still doing this, right? Because we cannot leave our data. I mean, everybody has been talking about data being the new oil. We all know how critical, how sensitive data is. I mean, the power really of every nation is the amount of data it has and how well it has put this data to use, right? So we can't leave this data residing in outside the shores of this country. We need to make a very, very deliberate effort, especially as the cloud adoption increases on a daily basis. More and more, organizations, companies, and even the government, is now looking to cloud, and practically every organization, as part of their digital transformation, are looking to cloud within the next, 2 to 5 years, right? So where is your data going to be resident? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. This data needs to be resident in the country. We have the capacity. We have built, data centers, tier 3, tier 4 data centers, that are comparable to any in the world. So the capacity is there, right? So right now, what we need to do, and do very, very fast, is for government to, come out with a policy that will basically mandate organizations, be it MDAs or private sector, to host their data locally.
I've been chatting with Oyaje Idoko, CEO Layer 3. It is imperative that we develop a formidable local cloud industry. So for example, Zoom is being used for a lot of video calls today, including teaching of our young students. Now guess what? This simply means that the company has a lot of data about us, and irrespective of who uses the service, it is completely outside our jurisdiction. Now, have we stopped to wonder what all of this means for our digital sovereignty? Forward-looking nations have built and continue to build enough capacity so that sensitive and important data can be hosted locally. The wise thing to do is come up with policies that will support our local cloud providers while keeping our data and traffic local. That's our show for today. Remember, we live on social media at Tech Trends TV. You can watch these and previous editions of the show on the Channels TV YouTube account or via cfablog.ng. For Tech Trends, I'm Chukwemeka Agbata.